Welcome back to another edition of Zero Block 30. Today we have a couple rounds in the magazine. Yee. Hey, B.
Let's just say bullet points.
Ugh. Can't do that either, Catherine. Can't do that. You know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Trump assassination attempt. We're also going to talk about a national anthem that was an abomination to the Lord. And we're going to talk about our boss, Dave Portnoy, being rescued by the finest Homeland Security branch of the military, which is the Coast Guard. Once again, the Coast Guard's stepping up and doing what nobody else is doing in the continental United States.
And I think it's nice they let him keep all the cocaine on the boat.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
Money too, I heard.
Yeah.
Money, coke, the whole kit and caboodle.
Heading to Cuba.
Yeah.
It's weird.
They let him have the
story.
coke, but the weed was still confiscated. Can't have that stuff rolling around.
Little do people know that's really where all of our Cuban cigars come from, is the Coast Guard.
Okay.
True. Yeah, good point, Cons.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of marijuana, the difference in prices in Michigan and Illinois makes me want to puke.
What is it? Cheaper in Michigan?
Dude, like here, I was showing my wife last night. It's like $50 for a quarter of an ounce. Like sometimes an eighth of an ounce.
Okay.
In Michigan, $80 for a full ounce.
Damn.
Like that's cheap. The little vapes that I get that are normally $80 here, $10 in Michigan.
You got to run for office.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of paying Illinois
Make
prices
marijuana
for
great
weed.
again.
I'll tell you what, if I was on The Price is Right and doing one of those games where you got to guess the prices like at the supermarket of marijuana, I'd lose every time. The
Same
numbers
here.
you just threw out, I have no basis of comparison.
Did you think it would be less or more?
More, I think.
I would think less, but
$80 for an ounce. I mean, that'll last me for.
You're also
a month and
assuming
a
I
half.
know what an ounce, like how much an ounce is. I can't even cook. So
Yeah,
Okay,
you're more of a
Walter White.
metric system.
yeah,
kind of
I'm a
lady.
metric system lady. That's
I don't know which one is metric and which one's the other one called.
I don't. Dewey Decimal.
Standard?
Yeah.
But standard should be everybody.
No
Which one is
shit.
standard? Is that the kilometers or is that the feet?
Oh, no, imperial system.
Imperial.
Mm,
Shout out Japan.
oh, good for them.
Yeah, the same continuous royal family since 630 BC.
I'll be damned.
You guys
How
know
about-
that? I think I've said that fact before. That's crazy
You have.
fact.
It
That
is.
is.
It is. But how about our country? We just operate on our own thing, the imperial system. We're the only people in the world that don't operate on a 24-hour clock outside of our military.
Yeah, but we're not the only
nuts.
ones with the metric system. There's 4 other countries that use it.
Oh.
That use the imperial system,
Canada?
you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, not Canada.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I forget which one. I think it's like Papua New Guinea. I think it's the Dominican Republic. It's not countries that you would consider global powers for sure.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, maybe
Well,
Papua
don't
New
say
Guinea.
that to their face. Don't Papua New Guinea. If you're listening, you can come in here and punch them right in the mouth.
Papua New Guinea had a big time Olympic fact.
What was that?
So there was a fella in the 2000 Olympics. It's a real shame that we didn't have Twitter or TikTok on the 2000 Olympics. There was a marathon runner who shit herself.
Oh, God bless.
Like they didn't know that it was live coverage. So they zoom in on her when she's going because she was leading the marathon. She had to pull over to the side, drop trowel, and spray diarrhea everywhere.
Oh.
And the camera had like zoomed in on her, seeing what she was doing off to the side, and immediately had to like turn away.
Okay.
That one happened. There was a woman who, after she had won a medal, it turned out that she was an escort.
Oh,
Like
good for her.
Right. I don't
So
have a
what?
problem with that. Yeah, it's your journey,
about
it's your
endurance.
butthole, it's your mouth,
Yeah.
whatever you want to sell. You
Who
could.
gives a shit?
Yeah.
Well,
that's-
not for
I do
nothing,
not
that's
give a shit.
capitalism, baby.
I'll tell you what, most Olympic sports and therefore most Olympic athletes are not money-making endeavors.
Right.
You're
No.
not talking about professional leagues that exist. So you got to make a living somehow.
I think she was like a triple jumper or something like that. And there's not a
Yeah.
whole lot. I mean, until you're in the Olympic Games, there's not a whole lot of sponsorship there.
I follow
Right.
this TikToker who she's like an avid outdoors woman. So she's out there kayaking and hunting with all the finest gear. And she's very open that she's like, I pay for this with my OnlyFans. And she's like, it's the only way. And I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
wouldn't
good
either.
for you.
If I was that Haktua girl, I would have opened up an OnlyFans instant.
Oh my
You
God.
don't even have to show
Sorry.
anything.
Right.
Did you see the stat yesterday? Speaking of OnlyFans, Bad Baby, I think isn't that the
Oh,
Catch
yeah.
Me Outside girl?
Yeah.
OnlyFans, $57 million she's
Yep.
made.
She
Yeah.
has a full ass team that will answer the DMs that she gets, and that's where a majority of the money comes from. Also, I'm not going to talk shit about her right now. She just got the shit beat out
I
of
know
her.
her baby dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he's
oh,
a
that's
real bad
horrible. I'm
guy.
sorry to hear
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
also,
No, that's okay.
I mean, she can
Hopefully
never
she has
do
enough
anything.
money to
Not
get the
saying
fuck
that you
out
were
of
going to
there.
do that because of that, Konza.
No. But you're right, Kate. She could retire tomorrow and live a super comfortable life.
But $50 million, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean,
I
and
think
that's
you could
a
stretch that
year.
out.
She
Yeah.
makes $50 million a year doing
Jesus.
I got about 20 grand in savings, and I'm like, I think I'm ready.
it. Yeah. But the Papua New
Okay.
Guinea fact that I wanted to tell you guys. So there's this dude who was a swimmer for Papua New Guinea, and he was in a heat, like the opening heat in the Olympics against 2 other countries to see if he could go. Like, actually, it's kind of like a play-in game for the
Yeah.
Olympics because they wanted to have underrepresented countries like put in bigger events like that. Well, this dude that Papua New Guinea had, he had never swam except for
remember that.
9 months before.
Yeah.
And so because the other two dudes dropped out of his heat, it was him swimming in the pool completely by himself, surrounded by the Olympic audience and by the best swimmers in the world. He had never until that Olympic trial swam in an Olympic-sized pool.
Was everyone cheering him on?
Yeah, they were cheering him on. But the
Aw.
dude learned how to swim and practiced in like a motel pool in the middle of a parking lot until he got to the Olympics. And he was supposed to do like the 2 lap, like you swim across once and then back. He could only muster once.
No way.
And it
then,
was freestyle swimming, and the dude's head never goes underneath the water.
really.
Like he's like essentially doggy paddling. Can you imagine if that happened now?
But I love those like Jamaican bobsled team stories.
Oh yeah, they're great.
The Afghan
that
water
would've been-
polo team was a big one.
That would have been
And-
great for Twitter. For
Yeah.
sure.
You remember I think it was Uganda won a game in the World Cup and people went like bananas for
Yeah. Oh, I love
that
underdog
they weren't
shit.
supposed to win. All right. That was a little goofing at the top of the show. Kate, what do you got?
Okay, first off, before we get into the main story, obviously that was the big joke of the show. Was I was gonna say, I know what's on everybody's mind,
Yeah.
something that's really struck a terrible chord with the entire nation, and
Yeah.
you're all thinking she's gonna talk about
Oh, and you were
Trump
using
getting shot.
chord like music.
Chord as
Yeah.
music. The national anthem at the home run derby last night. Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. So
Abomination.
country singer Ingrid Andress, she's got 2 Grammys. She's got like 2 million Spotify subscribers. Like genuinely talented, wonderful singer. If you listen to her other stuff, she goes out there to do the Star Spangled Banner last night at this MLB event, and my God, that was rough. And it wasn't just that she was off key and off pace and off everything. She sings, people call it like singing in cursive. She's got like a real like
indie like type of sound.
but for some reason it came through in the mic like upspeak, like that woman on Jeopardy who was like, okay, here we go. Where's the thing? And it like, oh, say does the Star Spangled. It was like, oh my God, what the fuck happened? Still don't think it was worse than Roseanne Barr's, but
that's
it
pretty
was-
But
bad.
Roseanne Barr wasn't trying.
Yeah, she was
Right.
trying to sound bad.
That's the
that's
difference.
true, but it was, I'll say it was worse than Fergie's. I'm ready to say it now.
Okay.
I rolled it around in my head last night. I was gonna say here's a little clip of it, but I don't want to put that on Chaps' plate.
I think I could do it.
Okay. If you can do it, here it is. A
All
little
right.
clip of it.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Now on Twitter, on TikTok, I saw TikTok Fred Mascherino from a little band called Taking Back Sunday.
Mhm.
Okay.
Shout out, Nate.
Bunch of other stuff. Fun fact, his mom was my youth group leader
What?
Wow.
And guess she was in charge the year of the Carolina Squeezer.
Oh,
That's my little connection to him. But anyway, he did a whole 10-minute explainer on what went wrong.
Contacts Katie, not giving context for a South Carolina Squeezer.
No, you
Very
gotta just
disappointed.
you just gotta be an OG listener to
You
get
just
that
gotta
reference.
know what that means. Okay. Google it.
Google it.
Download my OnlyFans at Katie Money Grabs.
The Reuters one.
Yeah.
The one from the Daily Stormer was
Yes.
not as good.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Apparently, he said whoever was like her music director and her sound person, like just completely fucked her, and they tried to put it on Autotune. And I guess any Autotune only has a range of like 7 notes for whatever key you start from. And Star Spangled Banner, buddy, that song's all over the place. That's a roller coaster of a note.
I think it's the number 2. There's 2 songs that I think show if you can sing. One is the Star Spangled Banner, and 2 is Oh Holy Night.
Oh, that's a big one too.
Yeah. If you can hit all of those notes, you could sing anything.
But what he said was, if you are using Autotune and you accidentally start on the wrong note, you're fucked from the start.
Mm.
2, and in a stadium when there's echo and blah blah blah. 2, he thinks at some point early on she hit a wrong note and basically battled against Autotune the entire rest of the time because it was only letting her. So say he was like, I think it looks like, and you can kind of hear that she is singing at a higher note, but the Autotune's bringing it back down to a wrong note because it only has this range. Like her sound guy screwed up.
I mean, are we really trying to act like this is the first woman that has started on the wrong note at a national anthem? That's preposterous.
I would just like to, I'm trying to say it's a man's fault is what I'm getting at here. A man, I'm guessing all sound guys are men, and he screwed up.
Wow, sexist Kate.
Yep.
I mean, we've never worked with a female sound engineer.
Exactly.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do. We have some here.
Stephanie.
Oh,
Stephanie's
no, I'm
awesome.
not saying. I'm saying like when we've been on location, I don't ever recall there being the sound person.
That's right. So I'm just saying some guy at a time when our nation needed it
piece
most
of shit.
screwed up
Oh,
the
yeah.
national anthem, and it wasn't her fault. So God bless.
So
She should have started weeping, because if she started to weep,
We would have
No.
felt bad.
nobody says anything.
It was tough, and the camera was panning to the players, and they were like trying so hard not to fucking laugh.
Good
It
discipline,
was
though.
tough. Good discipline.
that's so
Good bearing.
tough.
I
You know,
feel
two
bad for her.
things that I stood out to me though. If you're somebody that requires auto-tune, should you even be doing the national anthem for the MLB home run derby?
I think a lot of artists use Autotune.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, then
Honestly,
don't
I
pick
don't
those
know.
ones.
No, yeah. I think you can do Chris Stapleton. Just play the way he did it, and you're good.
Well, Fred
Yeah.
Mascherino, the guy whose mom was my youth group leader when I gave the Carolina Squeezer, he said that he's heard her other stuff and like she didn't need it. So that again, I blame the sound guy for being like,
That's
"Bring it
weird.
on,
Yeah.
That's weird. And also,
Anyway.
I mean, it's funny now we talking about like, you know, having Twitter. So many people didn't even see that because think about how we used to consume the home run derby. It was like appointment television. I didn't even know the home run derby was on last night.
I didn't
until
either.
started
They've added
seeing
too much shit to it. And like, what was that big time player who's like, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to hurt my arm.
Yelich.
No, his guy was his handler gambled all his money away.
Oh,
Ohtani.
Ohtani.
Like, come on, dude, just fucking do it.
Yeah, but he did need Tommy John surgery.
yeah.
So I could kind of see. But also, he
Okay.
got like a $500 million contract or something crazy. 700 million, something nuts.
Go hit a couple dingers for the
Yeah,
kids.
even if you only do it half-assed, just hit a couple.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're getting lobbed.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's
Anyway.
get into the actual show of the day.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
Here we go.
First off, I'll say there was nothing on the sheet about this. Chaps didn't want to talk about it because he's afraid it makes him less special
Yeah.
that he got shot.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, listen, I was thinking about this going into recording today. A lot of podcasts out there, and certainly a lot of podcasts at Barstool have tackled this topic. However, we are the only ones with a
Mhm.
getting shot expert. There's
Yep.
a lot of
In
podcasts
your
that have like
faces, everybody.
Yeah.
ballistics experts, sniper experts. I haven't heard any remarks from podcasts with people who have been shot.
Nope.
But you
Suck
got
my
that
dick,
con.
KFC Radio.
That's right, Cons.
Yeah.
Tell him.
So
But yeah, I mean, so me personally, I think it's one of those where I was at a bar that had a petting zoo when this occurred.
Where's that at?
Pilates up in Bucktown.
I don't need that.
It's awesome. My son was feeding a llama out of pellets from a shot glass when I
Yeah.
got the word. So typical. I think a lot of people are probably in that same situation.
Do you think that'll eventually be a "Where were you" moment?
Well, part of me was
I
I
don't
said
think so.
one of my
I don't
first
think so
thoughts-
either.
One of my first, I said, is like, is he okay? Is he going to be okay? Because if he wasn't, I was like ready to pack up the kids and get the fuck back to my
Yeah.
house. Honestly, I was like, oh shit. And of course, you want him to be okay. You don't want, but like, I was
Mhm.
like, I feel like if he got killed, the shit would have been crazy in the
Yeah.
streets. So
Oh.
right away, I was like, is he going to be okay? Do I need to take my son away from this llama?
Yeah, all the people, I
Uh.
don't even know if you have any on the sheet or anything, but all the people who like made jokes like, oh, they missed, like, too bad they didn't get him. I don't even want to think about how horrible things would have gotten had he been assassinated live on television and what would have devolved from there. I think that
Yeah.
would have been horrific and worse than anything we've seen in recent memory.
And somebody innocent in the stands was killed, which is
Yes,
Yeah.
which is
fucking
horrible.
terrible too. Yeah.
But
So
we talked about this on macrodosing. I was on that yesterday. I don't think it matters what it is in today's society. You're getting memed. Like it
Oh.
does not matter. Like what?
within seconds of it happening, there was memes everywhere. It's like when you get your ears pierced at Claire's. And
Yeah.
it was like
The first one I
didn't see
saw
that
was
one. That's good.
yeah.
Trump's ear, and it had like a kind of a bloody, crying Jordan.
on it, yeah.
Yeah.
So immediately, and like both sides, like everybody was like, we better meme this right away. But yeah, so what was it? Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon, in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Butler.
Yeah.
Butler.
Is it Butler?
Yeah.
But anyway, 3 days later now, they still don't know any motive for the shooter. They still don't have one. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing, nobody could find, because normally right away, one of the first things I do is go to Reddit, because those motherfuckers
Yeah,
find shit out so quick.
they do.
Mhm.
And everybody's kind of struggling to find, he didn't leave a huge like social media footprint or
Mm-mm.
anything like that.
Nothing actually. I don't think he had, which is so rare for a 20-year-old.
And then of course there's so many different theories going like, well, the government scrubbed all this shit right away and blah, 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 blah. And like, who knows? But anyway, chaps, you had some stuff that you wanted to talk about.
All right, so
Because everyone's like, how the fuck?
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about how the fuck was that huge roof right there, that huge series of roofs, like and people pointing at him for 2 minutes. How the fuck did this happen? So
yeah, and let me say before we get going, it's an abject failure by the Secret Service.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that. Like you have two jobs. You either get an A+ or you get an F.
mhm.
There is no middle ground whenever you're doing a job like the Secret Service. You could have done everything perfect. One thing breaks down and then it's over. So let me try to explain how they set up security. And for those that don't know, I was a dog handler in the Marine Corps. If you haven't been listening that long, I'm a dog handler in the Marine Corps. I worked with HMX-1, which is the Marine Corps squadron that would go out and do these types of sweeps. I've been on countless different types of Secret Service missions where we've protected people from secretaries all the way to the president. I've protected and been a part of the protection for both Obama and W whenever I was in the Marine Corps.
So like before W would have an appearance somewhere in New York City, you would go in with your dog, search the whole building, search all the areas,
right.
and
Yep.
among other people doing the same thing.
So you go in, so you have two really whenever you're doing this, two primary searches. One is going to be a day or two before the event takes place. So it's not going to be something that's been in place for a while. And particularly I'm talking about bombs here. And then you'll do another one a couple hours before. Like I've mentioned stories where I was at the Lincoln Center with President Obama shortly after he was in office. And I was there about the time, well, during the time that Billy Joel and Springsteen and John Legend were warming up. So it's just a couple hours before the event. Once that happens, so let me take a step back. So whenever you're going to these pre-mission type briefs, they don't call it a pre-mission brief, but whenever you're doing that type of thing, they establish 3 levels of security. One is going to be the same team that's there all the time. It's the primary protector. They're the primary security for that. Second is going to be the next wave that's going to be like in the crowd, around the crowd. Like there was a couple times at like the debate that happened in Long Island whenever it was McCain versus Obama. I was sitting next to like a congressman in that one. In case something happened, you have people in the crowd that have guns that are able to like try to neutralize the threat.
It's like an ATF guy blending in on the plane.
Sort
Yes,
of.
sorry,
Yeah.
Chaps, were you in plain clothes or uniform?
Plain clothes.
Yeah.
Everything Secret Service, plain clothes.
So tier 1, they're like nut to butt all around the president. Tier 2, they're kind of scattered around,
Yep.
blending in.
Yep. And then 3 is whenever you're going to start bringing in local law enforcement. So you'll have like the dog handlers and other folks that go in and make sure that it's okay. And then you post somebody there, like in Shooter. Do you remember in Shooter, whenever they have people in the background that are like, it's those local cops that are there that they don't have nearly as much training for that type of thing. And like a part of tier 2 is also the snipers that are on the roof. So they're making sure. So a couple things that whenever you're establishing, one, you look at the site, you're going to have a pre-team that goes out and does an investigation on the site. They're just doing an analysis to see where you need that tier 2 group, where the tier 1 group is going to be. If something happens, what's the level of egress? How are you going to leave? You have primary, secondary, and tertiary options based on what could possibly happen. So you have all that stuff. One of the main jobs of the pre-team is to establish lines of sight, like where they know exactly where whoever the protectee is going to be.
And you think like the sniper, you go in and you're like, if I wanted to kill the president, where would I post up where I think I could get away with it?
You're
and
not
you look at anywhere that
and you're not a counter sniper team member unless you are a sniper like that. So you know all the spots, you know where you're supposed to check. And the main thing that you look for is line of sight. Like you look for what is a reasonable spot where somebody can make this shot. And if you have that, that is exactly where you put people to make sure that nobody gets up there, like, or down there or wherever. Like that is the main objective there. So having that where there is a line of sight in one of the only buildings that are around. This is not like it took place outside of the Pentagon. Like whenever the Pentagon was having the memorial dedication to the 9/11 victims, whenever President Obama, I think it was Obama or might have been Bush, was out there, and Crystal City, DC is in the background. There's a ton of buildings there, but there's not reasonable expectation that unless you're like a high level sniper, you can make that shot. So you're going to have those buildings cleared, and just that's where you're going to have the level 3, where you're going to post somebody up. This is not that situation that's incredibly complicated. This was a small town, small area where there's only like realistically 3 buildings that have elevated sight. Not having people on the roof there is legitimately crazy.
And
like crazy.
I saw something this morning. Take it with a grain of salt, whatever you see on the internet. But I saw that the director of Secret Service said it was a sloped roof, so they didn't put anybody there
Get the fuck out
due
of
to
here.
safety.
If
that's true, like, what are you even doing? Like, I mean, snipers operate across all branches, like, and in Secret Service, all sorts of different terrains, all sorts of different slopes. To say a building, a roof is too sloped and it's dangerous, and that sounds like you don't know what you're talking about.
If that's the case, have someone keep a constant eye on it.
Right.
Well, there was reports, I don't know if this was true, but their team, like their counter sniper team, was headquarters underneath that building that they were in.
I saw that.
So how, if it's a 10 roof, do you not hear people?
Yeah.
This is my Katie tinfoil hat theory, but my theory on it, because again, we've all seen at this point, people being like, for 2 whole minutes, we all saw him crawling across the roof with an AR-15 and we were screaming at law enforcement. We were screaming. I think because what it sounds like is that all the tier 3 were local law enforcement.
Yep.
And I don't think that they had clear communication ahead of time. Like before something like this too, all tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, everybody gets in the same room. There's a PowerPoint screen. Here's all the buildings. Here's your job. Here's who calls who. Like they're supposed to go over every single detail. I think because the guy
they hand draw it out.
Yeah, he was wearing a tactical shirt for, I think, Demolition Ranch, this YouTube channel that does like whatever, but it looked like, and he was wearing like cargo pant kind of thing with an AR-15, which a lot of police forces use. My theory is that everybody else thought that because how the fuck else could some guy get up there? Everybody thought he was law enforcement too, and they weren't sure if that was the shooter because they were like, is that because nobody wants to be responsible for shooting another cop off the like, and so I think they were probably like, can I, like, permission to shoot, where is he, what, like, I think it was a total miscommunication breakdown because the plan just, I don't know, I just feel like
I mean, it's one of those, do you remember what the sign said whenever we would roll out like to actual like combat zones, like you're leaving on a Humvee going out outside the wire? Complacency kills.
And I swear to God, I think that's what it was, I think everybody who was supposed to be on that was like, no, that couldn't be. That has to be one of our cops because that couldn't possibly be. Nobody would be that brazen in front of
Right.
everyone here.
Yeah.
That's got to be a cop. And I think that's why they hesitated.
Yeah. And I mean, it is, we say all this like you're going to be hyper vigilant every single second that you are working one of these events. I think it's like normal human nature to be like, nothing's going to happen. Like we do this shit every day. It's very common. Like we're going to go out, we're going to do this, the same type of thing all the time. And then once it happens, I mean, the part that doesn't make sense, if it was somebody that snuck in and they were doing low crawl, sniper hide stuff, like I would understand more. Walking up a fucking ladder to get to the roof with a long gun.
I think it's the kind of thing where if I tried to sneak into a stadium with a clipboard and a certain uniform and I looked really confident, like I think I could get into most of them if I really wanted to. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
I think it's a
that's
combination.
My crazy theory.
No, you're right. But you're right. I think it's a combination, chaps. Like you said, I think you find yourself in the midst of the event and you just assume all those other measures that you described to us that are supposed to take place beforehand were in place. So everything is secure. And I mean, it's not like assassination attempts are run of the mill and happen frequently in this country. That just isn't common. You could probably serve your entire tour in the Secret Service and maybe not have any significant incident. So that human nature to get complacent, I think you have to actively fight against that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just saw a breakdown of all those different factors in what transpired here.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to revamp the whole process. Because if I was any other major politician, I'd be like, what's your guys' plan today? Did you like? I don't know. I would want some answers, big time. It's crazy.
Definitely. And people have talked a lot about the locating the shooter and listening to the people that were there and giving the warnings. One thing I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, having the picture that's like an iconic Trump picture at this point should not have happened. That's another failure. He, like personal security details, that motherfucker should have been on the ground with the inability to get up.
Yeah.
Like they should have held him down completely. Like him being able to have his full ass head when you don't know how many threats. They're like, oh, well, the shooter was already neutralized. They don't fucking know that.
They don't know that.
Like
right.
they don't know if there's a secondary, third shooter, like how involved it would have been. He should have been bundled. Like one of the things that they talk about when I did personal security detail, like training, we don't care if you break their ribs. We don't care if you shatter their kneecap. We don't care about any of that stuff. Their ass is on the ground, like as fast as you can. And then you bundle them up like a little sack of potatoes as much as you possibly can. And you escort them out that way. And the reason why you do that, you put them in like basically coffin style where they're completely laid out. You cover their legs, you cover their body so that you take the bullet instead of the person, the secondary bullet's coming. That picture should not have happened. That was a failure.
I have a question. I mean, that picture was nuts.
Amazing.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And
that photographer, by the way, I went and looked at, he's like, oh God, I should have his name and who he works for. But like any iconic photo you've seen in the last 10 years,
photographer. Yeah.
The odds are good that it was hit, like incredible.
He was there for the Bush shoe throw.
And you can watch. Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
This
Wow,
guy,
he's been in the game for a while. That was like 20 years ago.
You can see from far out, as soon as the sound of a bullet goes, everyone else is ducking down, and that photographer pops up and goes running in front of the stage and like was like, "I'm gonna."
He had to been combat camera.
Oh, totally, dude.
Before.
Crazy.
Probably.
But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I have a question, and if you don't answer, if you're not able to answer, it's fine. But so talking about that, when he stood up, now Trump is not a small dude. I think he's like 6'2".
Yeah.
Certainly, on the taller side. And some of his agents that were surrounding him were tall enough or taller to block him. And then there was one that was significantly shorter. So his head was exposed from a certain angle. Do you should you be the same size or bigger in order to make it easier to protect that person that you in the manner that you're talking about?
I don't think so. Like
okay.
One, I think this woman is getting treated wildly unfairly. Like I was talking to Big T yesterday and saying like people like Clay Travis's of the world are like, how could she not holster a weapon? Why is she saying, what are we doing? What are we doing? Those people that are saying those things have never been in that type of scenario. Like if you have a regular holster on your belt and you're going in that situation, it is getting shifted around, it's getting moved. And whenever you're practicing speed drills, everything that you have is in the same position at all times. So you're worried about the protect E that you have. It went in another way. And the reason why you scream, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because you have to react in the moment. Like you can have, everybody has a plan until they're hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
Once that firing goes off, they have to get together, clear communication.
Yeah.
It's like whenever you have a pop-up that's going to go to a shallow outfield. You have somebody that's coming in from the outfield that's going to be like, I got it, I got it, I got it. But you have to establish that means of communication. So what are we doing? What are we doing? Could be for somebody that sees in the earpiece that they're wearing, which way is the safest way to go? Which way was the bullet coming from? Because you're going to have to establish that quickly because you don't want to move towards the fire.
Right. The people on stage don't know that.
Yeah, they have
right.
no idea which way it was coming from. You have a reasonable deduction based on sound if you've been around that enough, but you don't have any real idea of where it's coming.
No.
So you need to communicate and make a decision. It could be wrong, but in the moment, you need to make a decision.
And
what are we doing? Which way are we going? We going
Yeah.
right? We going left? We going back? We're going down. Which way are we going? Which way are we going? That's
Right.
a totally normal phrase for her to say.
Mhm.
But people that have no idea are talking shit about her. And that'll be a story that sticks with her the rest of her life based on the way that the newspapers reported it, that
Yeah.
she could have been at fault. She didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. You can train. When things happen for real, like even if you have like a live fire training exercise, there's still something in your brain that tells you this is controlled, this is not unsafe, and I'll be okay. And the only way to replicate real world experience is to get that real world experience. So if you have agents who have never had anything of that nature happen, you're not sure how you might react. So you can train. So people are like, how are you not prepared to act in that situation? I've told the story before. I had a soldier, thought he was my best soldier. And then the first time an actual round went off in combat, the kid froze.
Mhm.
You don't know until that first round comes.
Except
so
Mark Wahlberg knows he
Yes.
would.
Yeah,
he
he
would.
would've done a lot
He
of
would have
stuff.
probably
He would've
done
absolutely
things
done it.
correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, he
absolutely.
would definitely would have done a lot.
I mean,
Yeah.
where was and I mean, given his role in the movie Shooter, we could have used him.
That-
on
Exactly.
Saturday.
It's all circling back around.
Yep.
It's all about Mark Wahlberg. But yeah, Chaps,
Indeed.
I mean, anybody who wants to be critical of an individual in that sort of situation, especially people who have no experience in any realm of combat, military, or police protection, I think is just incredibly disingenuous and just out there for the clicks, which is just unfortunately the world we live in.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the initial response from people on like social media and around the media landscape? Do you think that they, by and large, handled it correctly or incorrectly?
No, I mean, it was a shit show. Obviously, though, I think it reflects that that was an extremely emotional thing that happened.
Mhm.
Whatever the side, when someone tries to assassinate somebody on live TV in front of that, like, you're gonna have a really emotional reaction. And most of the time, our initial knee-jerk emotional reactions aren't the smartest or the most like accurate. But yeah, I think a lot of people didn't take a breath to be like, hold on, let me wait before I hit post. On both sides of the fence, really. But yeah, no, there's a lot of real dumb. There's a lot of dumbing.
Cons?
Well, and you talked about
Good
memes.
analysis.
Thank you.
It was just dumb. You talk about
Hey,
memes. and
everyone is
stuff.
dumb, including me.
It's
Yes.
interesting how like everything shifts. Like once everything comes back down from a boiling point, and you realize, okay, President Trump is not fatally wounded. Still, obviously, not ever a joking manner that one gentleman lost his life. But then you start to see the memes and the jokes come out. But I thought largely, like I said earlier, the people who said, oh, too bad they missed, I think that's horrible. But I thought largely the response, specifically from politicians on both sides, was fairly
Measured.
Yeah.
measured. Yeah, that's a good word to say. And especially people who have, said the worst things about Donald Trump, even they came out and were normal human beings. Because again, when you strip everything away, a person was shot at because of things they've said, because of their political beliefs, and
But we really don't know why. Still,
Yeah, we
well,
don't
yeah,
know why.
true.
This
But
guy-
if it's the president, it is politically motivated.
Sure, absolutely.
But we
Right.
don't know which way it was motivated. Like
Sure.
is what I mean, he gave like $15 to a liberal PAC, and then he voted Republican, and people are like, oh, he only voted Republican in the primary. He didn't even vote in the primary. He wrote in a
Right.
midterm election.
His mom, I think, registered Democrat. His dad, libertarian. Like people at school said he leaned right, but he was like kind of quiet. It's like,
And then he had a couple IEDs at his house too. Like
yeah, and in the
this one's more, and I think one of the stupidest conspiracy theories out there is that somehow President Biden or like they could have orchestrated it. Dude, you know how many people in the Secret Service and agencies like that are right leaning? Like,
Yeah.
you think you're going to get
Yeah.
away with that now?
Yeah.
Like issuing a hit. And if you're going to do that, you're going to do it with a 20-year-old who has no real experience, nothing like you're going to rely on him to make that shot. Like, I mean, that is one of the most outlandish types
Well, I
of
saw too saying
conspiracy
Biden
theories.
orchestrated it or Trump's side orchestrated it to
Yeah.
barely miss him before. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. But like,
And
it's crazy.
when there's other people like, oh, it was an intentional miss. Dude, you don't, in the ear, like,
Yeah.
that's pretty fucking close. I could see it if it like got him in a calf, if it got him somewhere else,
And
like
again-
where I
Shoulder
got
or
shot,
something?
like
Yeah.
through the elbow,
The
like,
arm. Yeah.
like that is a lot more feasible. You don't take a headshot. And people are like, this kid's a sniper. This kid was shooting from 135 meters away.
And two, he tried out for his rifle team in high school and didn't make the cut.
Right.
So he's not like some crack shot. And two, like, man, just doing it with an audience with your background beyond the target is like there was families there. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, dude? So I don't know. I had this little like sheet about the shooter. 20 years old from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, kind of near IUP, like Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania. Graduated high school in 2022. Dad, libertarian, mom, registered Democrat. He registered Republican in 2022. And people like that bothered me too. Right away, people are like online, he's registered Republican. Oh, look, blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut the fuck up and
Yeah.
take a step back for a second because you really have no
Mm-mm.
idea. What does that mean? Nothing.
But
like,
it was one of those moments, you know, we've talked about it before. If there's something horrific happens where you're like,
please don't be a
please
veteran.
don't be a veteran.
Please don't
Yeah.
be a veteran. That was one of my first thoughts.
And
too.
I actually had that thought whenever I was like, please don't be some dumbass liberal kid.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
And not that really matters
Either way.
who did it, but you know, I mean, identity politics are a big thing. Like
Yeah.
you had like right away, it was like, this is the liberal media's fault. They've been calling Trump Hitler forever. It's like, are we really trying to act like President Trump's Mitt Romney up there? Like, are we really doing that?
Yeah. It no military experience. His mother, licensed social worker and therapist.
Yeesh.
No known motivation. Crawled onto the roof that was unsecured. AR style weapon. Gun was purchased by his dad about 6 months before. No ID on him. Explosives in his car. No known social media accounts other than a Discord that he rarely used. No criminal history. No civil lawsuits. Worked at a skilled nursing and rehab center as a dietary aide. And the employer said he was like a lovely guy. Like, I don't know. It's just,
I also read he got bullied a lot.
and there was some videos that
with
came out of him
stuff.
getting bullied, and like, it makes me think like if I had to once again put on my tinfoil hat and speculate, which you shouldn't do at a time like I would guess he got radicalized somewhere online down some crazy ass rabbit hole and was mentally
Mhm.
incredibly vulnerable. And
But you
like-
would think with that, I could see that line of
but
thought.
why Trump? Yeah, I don't know.
Not just Trump. Why, if you are radicalized that way, one of the primary facets that you do that is social media, like Reddit,
Yeah.
4chan, like all those different types. He didn't have those accounts. And what
Yeah.
we've said it a million times, like getting away with something now, impossible. They took
Right.
that gun, did the search on the serial number, immediately knew it was that dad, got
Yeah.
the cell phone, shipped it overnight, or probably had it like put on a private flight over to the FBI lab, and they had his phone unlocked, all communications, all phone logs. Within like 3 hours, they had all of that information.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
Nuts.
I'm interested to see because they're gonna come out with some. I mean, they will find like whatever, but I just like what the fuck, what the absolute fuck, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy town.
Yeah, and chaps, we were talking out before the show. You asked, how long do you think President Trump wears that bandage on his
Yeah.
ear? And I
Yeah.
think, gosh, so much of politics now is for show. So he has to obviously demonstrate that he was injured and in this assassination attempt. So you want to leave that bandage. It seemed like it was a large bandage.
It was pretty big. Yeah.
It was pretty big. It was kind of reminiscent of Ted Kennedy wearing that neck brace after he killed that girl.
Or Michael Scott wearing the boot after he burned his foot on bacon.
Yeah.
Right. So, but then on the other hand, you think like, all right, he's about to give such a large speech on Thursday night that'll be photographed and sent all over the world. He seems like a dude pretty concerned with his image. Is he going to allow that bandage to be there for all those pictures, or is he going to forego the bandage? But then if he forgoes the bandage, people can see how bad or insignificant the wound was. But you gotta remember, like, anytime you get hit in your face or your ears, there's just like a lot of blood regardless. I have no idea what kind of wound he's dealing with, so I don't know. A lot goes into it, and my gut says he takes the bandage off for the speech, but I could also see him leaving it on.
I mean, I'm not going to say this because I don't like the guy. He almost got shot in the fucking head.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter how bad the wound is. It went right
Oh,
by
that's
his.
what I was gonna say.
It went right by his head.
Did you
And
see
from
the
the
one
image-
picture of the bullet going right behind
Yeah,
him?
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Fucking
Yeah,
crazy.
I was gonna say that too, chaps. Like, if he takes the bandage off and it's just like something little, and people might come at him and say like, "Oh, like what is even that?" It doesn't matter. Even if it completely missed him
doesn't matter.
altogether, someone still tried to shoot him in the head.
Right.
Which
And that's got to take a
inexcusable.
mental. I remember like,
I was fucked. Like after I got
Yeah.
and mentally, dude, I didn't sleep for like longer than 20 minutes for like 5 or 6 days. Like
yeah, that's got
the
to.
adrenaline that goes through you. And I'm not running that type of campaign where I still have to be out there the next couple days. It's definitely a difficult spot to be in mentally, but also the memes are coming again. If it's not a bad injury, and from what I saw in the zoomed in photos, it didn't look like a bad injury. So he'll get roasted by people online if it's not a bad injury.
Which is crazy because again, like I do wonder like the mental toll that's, and I hope like if anything comes out of this, like I do hope that that's like, okay, enough is enough, because sorry, but
Right.
like both sides are very guilty of
Yeah.
making it worse and worse and worse and worse. And like Trump's side is saying, oh, well, the left is like celebrating this, blah, blah. But like when Paul Pelosi got attacked by the hammer, like Trump Jr. was like, look at my Halloween costume. It was like underpants and a hammer. Like, I feel like both sides are guilty of like escalating this thing. And like, I think a couple weeks ago, Biden, it was like tongue in cheek, but he's like, we got to put Trump in
Bullseye,
the
yeah.
crosshair, the bullseye.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that kind of language by both sides has to fucking stop now.
Mhm.
Like enough is enough.
And
Somebody
like the
almost got their head
The
blown
Reddick
off.
whenever Gretchen Whitmer was nearly kidnapped.
Right. Like enough is enough. It was a big joke to everybody when all that stuff was happening. And like, it's really not funny. It's like super fucked up. And it's hit a point where like an innocent father was killed in front of his family. So like, maybe let's be done now.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think
I
it's going
know,
to keep
I know.
ramping up.
I know.
I mean, I'm so interested to see how his speech goes, because what we've seen is that he's completely changing the entire tone of it. And I agree with you, Kate. I hope that everybody just takes this as a sign that, okay, we got probably as close to as possible of complete anarchy and devolving into something horrible as we could get. And maybe people take a step back, take a breath, and realize like, okay, it's politics. It's not war. You can have differences with people, but
That's-
maybe
I
we
hope
tone
that-
down.
But that's not the brand.
But I'm just hoping beyond all hope that his tone, that there's a shift, a little bit of a shift. Like maybe it's a little bit of a,
And if I was advising
I don't
him
know.
based on the bump, I would advise him to make as little of statements as absolutely possible.
What do you mean?
Like if I was, because the way that this happens and the way people's brains work is if you're a centralist now, like and you are legit on the fence, which I'm not sure how people could be, like, what both have to offer. But if you were that person and you start to hear the only thing that you really hated about Trump, you like some of the policies, but you didn't like the way that he attacks people, politically divisive. And if he comes out and is even keel, doesn't make statements like his tweet or whatever his Truth Social post was about, he wins in a landslide.
Yeah.
If he comes out and he like still starts going for 4 months about how the left is the evil, like you're letting in 20 million people, which is just not true. Like if you keep doing that, I think you'll lose some of those that you gain. And this isn't October.
Right.
It's July. So like what happens in the American conscience? And like
Right,
I
his next
love
few
our boss
steps.
Dave, but remember when the Roe was overturned, he was like, there's absolutely no way that I could vote for this. Nobody gives a fuck about that now.
Right. Yeah.
Like things leave the American conscience so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His next moves are a big
Well,
deal.
did either of you see, it just happened this morning, that leaked video of his conversation with RFK Jr. on the phone?
Mm-mm.
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, well, you can go watch that, and I'm sure people listening to this on Wednesday will have already seen that. It was very toned down. It was almost like a normal conversation from my perspective, and it was not the performative rhetoric that we see often from President Trump. It was just reacting, and he even said, like, President Biden, he was a very nice, called me and was very nice about the whole thing, and
Yeah.
checked to see if I was okay. And there were no names called, if I recall correctly. Sorry if I'm wrong on that, but he didn't say one thing or another about President Biden, and it was just very normal. And it's like, just if he's that guy, like, I agree with you, chaps. I don't see how he loses the election come November.
But I
Yeah.
also don't know how you can ignore 7.5 or 8 years prior of him being that guy. But I mean, I'll say I've been the first to say getting shot absolutely changed my perspective on everything, and how, like, I did do a lot of soul searching, like what kind of man do I want to be? What kind of father do I want to be? So maybe that happens. Let's all hope that this isn't about just getting votes, that this is about returning some decency. I'll be honest, even in the wake of all this, I don't see that happening.
I know.
I see it happening for a week. I mean, kind of like we saw that with President Trump when he took the inauguration. He made a speech about coming together, a lot of the same tones, and then that was quickly gone like 2 or 3 weeks later. I hope that that's not the case this time, but it's going to be like a show me type of thing.
I look at January 6th, people on both sides were killed there. And like, it feels like a blip. Like it didn't, there was no unity after that. There's no like, time out, everybody. This is too much. Like it just got worse. So I'm not hopeful either, but I also am a little bit.
This is a lot of toothpaste to try to put back in a tube.
Yeah.
You have 8 years of toothpaste coming out.
Anyway, I am really interested to see.
I guess it goes to the question, like, do you think people can change, or are they just inherently who they are? And I think when it comes to politics, like, he just announced JD Vance, E4 Mafia for you there.
First veteran VP, am I right?
Not from this, not veteran.
From this
post
war.
9/11, post 9/11,
Post 9/11, okay.
Post 9/11. Obviously, the videos have been shown about all the things he has said that have been were anti-Trump back in 2016. And clearly, if you're on the guy's ticket, you can't believe those things anymore. So let me finish.
Most Republicans were like that. And
Go
then
ahead.
they flipped.
Let me finish. Did he actually believe those things? Was he just being performative, or are his political aspirations so high that he's willing to just completely change his tune? And it goes to my question. Do you think you can actually change as a person and change what you believe in a matter of 8 years? Or are you just saying what needs to be said to further your own agenda?
Oh, they're chameleons.
I think either way, that either he really believes that he was like Hitler at the time, or like completely not right for the country, or he blows with the wind of what's going on. Either way, that's not somebody with the integrity that you would want to be in a position that's a heartbeat away from the presidency. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah, I felt like that was kind of a wild pick.
And him being against, like, that dude's against, like, in vitro. Like,
not a big women guy.
Yeah,
I
like
know
against
that
birth,
from
like
following
the
over
birth
the
control,
years.
like all kinds of shit.
Ladies.
Yeah. So I don't. I
Anyway.
mean, I don't know. I don't think, like you were saying, Con's like, we hope that it's middle of the road type stuff. I don't
that pic
think
doesn't feel
JD
like it.
Vance is that guy.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's certainly not. I don't think. And I'll be the first to admit I don't know that much about him. Certainly, I'll try to read up and learn more.
Allow me to beat the drums again of what would sway me. Hot younger lady with tits. Hot younger lady with tits. I don't care what.
Wow.
Well, I guess
Little
at least
shame.
bazungas.
At least we're going in the right direction in terms of age. He's 39, so I think
And
that's a move in the right
slight
direction.
breasts, I'll say it.
Yeah.
And he's
He has breasts?
really.
Oh, he does.
I was
A little heftier.
He's,
I'm not shaming. I like.
Well, to that end,
Yeah.
I think he's kind of really playing to all the '90s kids because he's got the whole Al Borland look going. He's
And
got
keeps
that down pat.
Tamagotchi in his pocket.
Mhm.
It was a different time. The Macarena was the big song of that era.
It really was, Kate. You're absolutely right.
Uh-huh.
The Secret Service wasn't able to protect President Trump at the rally, but you'll be able to protect your home with our friends at Simply Safe.
Oh.
That's right. I mean, can you imagine? You go to sleep at night
That's
and
an all-time transition.
Mhm.
burglary happens at your home. So, I mean, if you're picturing a shady character sneaking around the cloak of night, you may be surprised to learn that according to the FBI, most break-ins happen during broad daylight and spike during the summer when more homes sit unattended and the days grow longer, which is exactly why you need Simply Safe Home Security now. Simply Safe is the only security company I trust with my own home and family's protection, offering me peace of mind whether I'm home or away. Perfect example. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I have Simply Safe, so I'm all set. We're just away all weekend on a vacation. We go down the shore in the summer a lot of weekends, so we need to make sure that our home is protected. So with fast protect monitoring and live guard protection, Simply Safe agents can act within 5 seconds of receiving your alarm and can even see and speak to intruders to stop them in their tracks. You'll never be locked into a long-term contract, so you can cancel anytime. Pricing is transparent and affordable at less than $1 a day with no hidden fees ever. That is unbelievable deal, $1 a day. It's easy to install and activate your Simply Safe system in less than an hour, or you could choose professional installation and have a pro do it for you. So protect your home this summer with 20% off any new Simply Safe system when you sign up for Fast Protect Monitoring. Just visit simplysafe.com/ZBT. That's simplysafe.com/0 Bravo Tango.
All right, let's talk about when a president was actually protected by a government agency, and that was our good friend and boss, Dave Portnoy. What happened there, Kate?
Oh, boy.
Yes. Yeah. Was it yesterday or today that he posted about it? I think
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Monday.
I guess his mom, they're visiting him out in Nantucket, which island, way out there in the boondoggles. And have you ever been?
Yes.
I don't know if I would ever call Nantucket a boondoggle.
But I mean, it's
out in the
out there
boondoggles.
though. I mean,
No, it
yeah,
is.
it's
Yeah, it
not
is.
easy to get
it's
to.
a tiny little island in a
Yeah.
very choppy
Yeah.
area. It's tough for boats and stuff. Anyway, he takes his mom out. He got a new boat. Takes his mom out on the boat for a little boat ride, and I guess you can hook up.
Nice to see him getting something
buoys.
nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
right?
guess you can hook up to boats or
Things are working out
buoys or
for him.
something like that and be still or whatever. So he detaches from the thing that was holding him still, like the anchor, and he goes to turn the boat on. They're out in the middle of the water, and the boat doesn't turn on. And the wind is blowing, and they just start drifting out to sea. And they're getting further and further and further. He doesn't have service, no radio, which I guess because the boat wouldn't turn on or something. I thought that was crazy. Basically, they're just out there on the boat, floating further out to sea with no means. He fires off a flare gun, which he says he's not a flare gun guy. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall watching him figure out the flare gun. He was probably terrified shooting that thing off.
Oh, yeah.
Fires the flare gun, nothing happens. People are like, oh, cool, fireworks or something. I don't know. Finally, this lady is boating by and flags her down. First, she asks if she can make a TikTok with him. And he's like, not right now. And then
Lady, it's
finally,
not time
she
for
calls for
TikToks.
help. The Coast Guard comes. They rescue Dave. All is well.
I hope she's on a name show.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, to
Yes.
hear what the status was. The next morning, the Nantucket newspaper was top story. It's Barstool Sports founder rescued by Coast Guard. And then the Coast Guard from that area did a retweet of his post. They're anytime, Dave, hope Miss Peaches is doing well. Yeah. So
The Coast Guard also has great individual branch or stations
oh, dude.
social media account. They do everything
They do.
so good.
They're the best, man.
They
I'll
are.
say it. They're fucking awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
have you guys You still haven't watched The Guardian starring
Never
Kevin
will.
Costner?
Never will. I'm sorry, I
will.
can't do it at
Yeah.
this point, Cons.
I will
It's-
say
Can't
this,
do it.
you know, growing up and especially, you know, when I was in the Army, you know, the jokes were made about the Coast Guard. And then I've completely gone 180. And not just because of The Guardian starring Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher. You realize, you know, and I think it was mirrored by the fact that we were in conflicts in the Middle East for so long. They've essentially always been in conflicts, right? Because there's always been stuff to guard
Mhm.
for the last, you know,
we
however
got
many
a lot
decades.
of coast.
We
A
do.
lot of coast. They've been working and doing their job, and it's so important protecting our coastline there and protecting boaters and rescuing Dave Portnoy. It really is an impressive,
Jumping on
impressive
that
branch.
narco
Oh my
submarine.
God! Yes.
Can I say something controversial?
Yeah,
Oh,
You
please.
cannot even have land without a coast.
that's exactly right. Well,
Somewhere,
no, even Pangea had it.
even Pangea had a
Mhm.
coast.
Yeah. Shout to the Coast Guard, man. I'm full in on the Coast Guard.
Yeah, they rock.
I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
All right, let's move into some save rounds and alibis. Catherine, what you got?
Ooh, we had a big storm come through last night.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Oh,
10 tornadoes on the ground are in the area of
Both
Chicago last
airports.
night. Yeah.
He lives a few miles west of me to where the storm was going to hit him first. So the sirens were, I'd never heard like tornado sirens going like that before and blah, blah,
Insane.
blah. So
And
I
it
texted-
happened the night before as well.
It did. But I didn't get the phone alert the night before. This time my phone was going off. The kids were both like yada, yada. And I texted you because I didn't want to be the one to decide if I should save my family or not. So I was like, let me put it on chat. I was like, should I take my family downstairs? And he said, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And he went. So anyway, because he was getting a little taste of the storm first. And I ended up taking the whole family downstairs to,
Did you wake him up?
we get down to Pat's office, which in hindsight, the shade was down, enormous glass wall there.
Yeah.
That was probably the dumbest with a tree out in front of it. I guess I couldn't see it because the shade was down. So I
So
didn't
you
think
should
about it.
have gone, made a mistake taking down those former bunk beds.
I know. We should have gone into the
Those
bunk
things
bed
were
caves
solid as
under
hell.
the right, 100%. We got first. I texted Pat. I was like, "Hey, both kids are still asleep right now. Turn off all the lights, and then we'll bring them down." Lights are still on. TV's blaring. We get down to his office, which has 1,000 lights. Now both kids are awake. He has this whole LED system, I guess, that he soldered himself. LED lights all around his office.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives Cash the remote, so the rainbow colors or whatever. And now Cash is like, "Whoa!" I was like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you."
what time is this?
I almost
By the
went up. I almost ran up onto the roof and
Like
just
10:30,
sucked
11?
myself up
Oh.
into the. And because then the baby was wide awake and he felt like he had just had a great nap. And he
Oh,
was
that's
like,
the
"Let's
worst.
fucking go."
Instead of
Yeah.
sneaking in like those Argentine and Colombia fans, Kate's like sneaking out of her house through the air conditioning.
I said, "Beam me up, Scotty. I'm done." But anyway, finally got them all back. It was a whole to do. It was very exciting. But this morning, walked the kids to daycare. Trees everywhere.
Yeah,
man.
I
trees
saw
are
your
down.
pictures. That was significant damage, and
Like-
obviously, hopefully nobody was injured. But
Yeah.
you know, you could replace cars and fix homes, but it's still really, really devastating. That was more than I had anticipated seeing.
Yeah, dude. There was roofs crushed, cars crushed. Like I must have passed at least 10 crushed cars. I'm not kidding. And yeah, it was crazy. So what else do I have? Oh, what would you do if your MRI of your spine found a large mass on your liver? Did you get that checked out?
You serious? Like today, I would
I
go
don't
get
know.
that checked out. Like
Yeah.
right now, after we're done recording. In
I
fact, I
think
might have skipped recording because that probably would have just eaten away at my head and my conscience that I got to go
So
get this
sometimes-
checked out.
My level of disappointment with Kate knows no bounds.
Stay tuned. I'll make an appointment for that.
Oh, how'd that VA appointment go where you brought Cash and Mackin?
So Mac ended up falling asleep right before
Excuse me,
I
Buckshot.
went. Yes, Buckshot. Thank you. And so I decided to just let him stay asleep at home, and I went without him. But the lady was fucking awesome again. It was just me and her. The whole place was empty.
Nice.
PT on us. I'm going tomorrow again. So
Oh,
she fucking rules. And yeah, shout out the VA. Love it.
cons.
We this past weekend went up to Lake George. I had heard about Lake George growing up in
Buddy.
Jersey my whole life. Never been, never even came close to thinking about planning a trip to Lake George. I forget the impetus for it, but Alex planned for us to go up with one of her girlfriends.
And you were so mad because you were missing your golf.
I actually ended up playing around the golf, so it was no big deal.
Of course.
We worked that into the plans. Can I tell you, Lake George was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's a beaut, buddy. It's a beaut.
We stayed at the Sagamore, which was unbelievable. Took a boat out one day. I didn't realize how clear that lake was. I mean, you could see multiple feet down. Like the lakes I have experience in, like Lake Travis down in Texas or some lakes in Oklahoma, they're kind of murky or whatever.
Little amoeba action.
Yeah, but apparently like Lake George, the way the filtering system works or something, that's where all the water comes from for drinking water. I was blown away. But so I wouldn't say this was like Alex's trip and not mine. It was a family trip, but the other couple, I mean, it's her girlfriend and her husband who I'm friends with, but it's her friend.
Mhm.
So 2 of the 3 nights, like when, it's time for Maggie to really shut it down, I was the one kind of walking her around so she could hang out with her pal. And I even took her back early one night. Let me tell you, my calves are so shocked because the place where we were staying, there's just hills everywhere. I was walking in circles for, I don't know, it felt like 4 hours. At one night, she wouldn't go down. I was in the parking lot walking in circles, and it was on a slope. My calves were shot. I just take these things for granted now that I'm almost 40, that I can't just walk and walk and walk without feeling the effects of it. And it was just eating away at me that, damn. I'm
The look on Kate's
older.
face looks so pained right now. Like, yeah.
Why? Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, I hear you. We're getting old, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rickety as hell.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen to you. But anyway, Lake George, man. We're thinking about making it a biannual trip, which
Whoa.
could be fun. And nope, yeah. I'm getting yelled at for talking about my Lake George trip now.
Oh,
I don't know why. Who
I'm
knows?
over.
Who knows?
I love Alex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck you,
Love
guys.
you, Alex.
Oh, probably because I'm talking about, like taking our daughter and letting her hang out. Like, oh,
Like,
trying to sell
you're
it.
such a
Big
martyr.
Congratulations.
Oh, sorry
yeah.
sorry you had to be a parent.
Yeah. Yes.
And then lastly, I need some help, man. I finally put up maybe about a month ago a flag because my house had a stand out above my garage for a flag. So I put a flag there. I've tried like 6 different things for it to not get tangled, and it's still getting tangled. I
What do you
need
mean?
some.
It keeps flipping over itself?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
impossible.
Put some little weights at the bottom of it somehow.
I tried that. I tried the magnetic
Oh.
weights. The wind blew those suckers right off.
I'll be
There's
damned.
nothing you could do. I had my Marine Corps flag at my old houses. I'm not even putting one up at this new house. Because every time it's unfurled or it's furled, and I'm like, well, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Well, right, because also I think it makes me look bad as like the veteran on the block with the
Right.
the poor looking flag. I'm like, they all think I'm a scumbag.
You should get a
So-
garrison flag. That anybody remember,
Super
Kate?
big one.
Do you remember what the dimensions are?
Like 48 by 100.
Nope.
Okay.
20
I have
by
no idea.
48.
Well, I was
Yeah.
close, wasn't I?
5 by 9.5, 10 by 28, and then 20 by 38.
That was close.
Yeah. Doubled up every time.
Yeah. So you
Storm
should just
flag.
cover your house in a flag.
Storm Post Garrison.
Sure.
That's the flags.
So it sure is.
Shout out to me. Is that it, Cons?
That's all I got.
Cardi, first overnight camp.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so pumped.
Sailing camp
Sailing and Iron Chef.
That's cool.
combined.
Yeah, well, they do like
yeah.
2 different if you're not like the main activity of the day is either sailing or Iron Chef.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they didn't know that a bunch of their buddies were going to be in the same cabin, so we drove down. It was like 3 hours down there, which is absolute horseshit to have to drive that far to camp. And I got to pick them up on Saturday. Got to leave my house at 6 a.m. to get there. But we get in there and I'm like carrying their suitcases. And as soon as they walk into the cabin, like 4 or 5 of their buddies are all in the like right by each other in the same bunks. And none of the kids knew. The moms had set it up that way. So they get in there like, oh shit, Ernie, what's up, dude? What's up, Alex? What's up, Ishan? And they're all like, this is it. How did this work out?
How long
This
is it for?
so
It's
crazy."
amazing.
A week.
All right, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can't contact them.
Oh,
Like,
that's
That's
great.
cool.
There's no email. There's no phones. There's none of that stuff. They're just out there doing it.
Yeah.
Which is great because me and Annalise can be out here doing it.
Mm.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Talking sex, folks. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Sound the retreat.